What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Triple Play Fantasy YouTube channel. And on this edition of the show for the channel, it's going to be a little different today. And I wanted to spend some time as it's Thanksgiving. I wanted to kind of give a shout out to a bunch of different people. And first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to everybody that watches the channel. And that's for any of you guys that have subscribed. You watch our videos, you like our videos, and we really appreciate you, especially on this channel. We've grown pretty big since March. It was when we really started diving into this. We have over 1,000 subscribers. You guys are really, really pushing our stuff. So for me and everybody at Triple Play, we can't express how happy we are for what you guys have been doing for us. I know I'm in a different spot. We're on vacation, but I definitely want to get this video out because without you guys, there is no us. And without you guys not, viewing our content and doing those type of things, we're nothing. So I really, truly, for everybody on the channel that watches our stuff, that shares our videos, that gives us comments, that sends us DMs, thank you. From the bottom of our heart, it makes all the work and the effort kind of worth it. And we wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So you guys mean a lot to us. So if you ever need anything, advice, you know where to find us and where you can kind of contact us. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to some people within the fantasy football space that I feel like deserve some credit for their work that they've been doing, and people that I generally enjoy, that I think that have shown to be very thankful people and very people that care about others. And I think that's a big thing with me in the space that we have done. We've created a platform like that. Triple Play is all about family. Triple Play is all about being there for each other, no matter what happens within our lives. And I want to express some other people in the space of fantasy football and fantasy in general that you all should be following and working content for them too, because that's why we're here. And I know a lot of people will sit there and say, hey, this is a person. There's a lot of fake nice things that go on in the space, but I truly believe that these people are people that you should follow, people that will help you win leagues. But at the same time, they have good souls and they have things that I look for in friends that matter to people. And so I want to give a shout out there. What you can find in the description underneath, where if you want to jump around to different people, I'm going to mention a bunch, and it's definitely going to miss some that I'm going to feel bad about. And just know, if I did miss you, I'm sorry. I will, that's not something I wanted to do. But I want to start with the Triple Play guys first, because that's kind of where we all started. And first, David and Eric, I'm going to give them a shout out. David is one of the most hardworking people I've ever seen. The guy grinds, writes articles, does edits, video, the channel, is always communicating with people, hiring people, all those things. And he is someone that I have grown to really, really become friends with. And it's almost like a family atmosphere with those guys. He's around my age, and he just has that heart. When we talk about, like, hey, as a teacher, he does that very well. He's a good dude. He's a good husband. He's a good brother. He's a good friend. There is no one else in this space that I'd want to do this with than David. Eric, at the same time, he's younger than us. And, I love that energy that he brings, especially in our group chats, the things that he does that I can live vicariously through him. He's a very, very hard worker. And to be quite fair to Eric, he's one of the best marketing people I've met, and he knows how to market the brand, and he knows how to market and get the brand out there. He hustles, he goes to games, he does a lot of grunt work that a lot of people don't want to do, and it doesn't necessarily blow him up, all the time, but he knows that the brand needs it. And so I appreciate those two guys. David works his butt off. Eric does it also, a kind of the the discreet ways of kind of hustling in the background, trying to get subscribers, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff, TikTok. And so that's a big one. Now, so those two guys, from the bottom of the heart, I appreciate you guys letting me part of the Triple Play brand. There's no one else that I would rather do this with. I enjoy making content with you guys because you guys make it worthwhile to me. I could do this at any place if I really wanted to, because anybody looks to add people, but I don't want to do that because you guys have made this place a special place. So thank you. The next two guys are guys that I work with pretty closely, and that's James Lewis and Jacob Dunn. So James and me do a lot of basketball videos together, Coach's Corner. We do a lot of prospect videos. Me and James have a video that hit over 10,000 views on YouTube, which is still our record right now. James is one of the smartest basketball minds I've ever talked to. He's a coach. He's a good husband. But this dude knows his ball and knows his ball. He's not a casual by any means. This guy is hardcore. He's one of the best fantasy basketball players I've seen. So if you have not checked out his fantasy basketball work, you need to check it out. He does a waiver wire ad every week. Him and Jacob do that. He knows his stuff, and I'm not blowing smoke. He really knows basketball, the ins and outs. He's a LeBron truther, unfortunately, but if you look past that, he's a very, very good analyst. He's a very good person. He knows it. He can win you leagues. If you follow him and ask him for advice and do this, he is one of the people in this space that doesn't get the credit that he deserves because he can win you leagues. That's simple. At the flip end, Jacob Dunn, I do my Super Fantasy Bros show with him. Again, hardworking guy. We say, hey, Jacob, we need this. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's go. He does football. He's also an OG basketball guy. Fantasy basketball is kind of his love. I know it is. It's just one of those things that doesn't get the love out there in the space that it should. But he knows what he's talking about. And you look at his DFS, look at his streamers. You follow him on Twitter at Ain't Done Yet, and it'll be in the description box. He can go through guys that you should be streaming going over. He is legitimately an amazing basketball guy. Football-wise, his rankings, he's a top 5 ranker for Fantasy Pros. This guy is one of the most underfollowed damn accounts on this app. And he's the nicest person in the world. He's got 2 wonderful children, a wonderful wife. You can't express more than that about him. He's just one of those guys that he does everything right. He's just one of those people that I can't express how important he is to this brand. And he's been one of my friends on this thing for like almost a year now. So a year and a half. He's that special. He's one of those people that he definitely deserves the plug that he's getting. Now, after that, I want to give a shout out to Marty, our baseball guy. Marty has been killing it. Him and Christian Mack definitely did a baseball show every week of baseball. That is not easy to do. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, for those things to be there, Marty Talman is definitely a guy to follow on Twitter at Marty_Talman. He's a baseball guy. He kills it. I'm not a baseball. I'm not in that area, but I would be listening to him if I ever was. And just by him just being a top-notch person in the group chat, he's one of those people that's always hyping us up. And that's what I love about Marty. No matter what, he's hyping people up. Hey, oh, yeah, you did basketball. Oh, that's great video, all this. And even though he doesn't know necessarily a lot about football, because I know he's focused on baseball a lot, he still hypes us up. He doesn't know shit about Debbie, but he still talks to me about, hey, I love that video. That's the kind of guy you want in your corner. Marty Talman is one of those people. The rest of the guys at Triple Play, I definitely want to give a shout out. I don't work with everybody really closely just because we have a lot of people. We have over 23 people. But Art's an amazing guy. Does our baseball pod, sat with me for over an hour for me to learn how to edit a podcast. And he wrote an entire document that took him probably longer than that. I cannot express how important Art has been to my development in this space. Thank you, Art. Eric Mincer, our basketball guy, excellent guy. I've known him for a long time as well. We have Brad. Brad Kilgore, one of the OGs of the Triple Play. He's a great guy, smart as a whip, one of the best DFS basketball players I've seen. Again, follow him too for his basketball takes. Even though he has a weird Drummond take, other than that, solid man. And then you go through the list. We've added a couple of different guys to our group. Zach Attack. You can follow him at Chalupa Batman. Excellent man. He does our Trip Play show, and he works. And him and Alex Mateo have done a very good job on that. I can't express how much they've grown this season. But again, Zach always hyping us up, always saying, hey, great stuff, always retweeting our stuff. That stuff doesn't go unnoticed, and we really appreciate that kind of stuff. Then if we go through, Joe Pepe is there. He also does some of the RotoWire or the Trip Play show. I know that he's been a little bit busier. Toby with graphics, one of the best graphic designers in the space. Toby's done a great job. Chris has done a great articles for us, especially betting articles that we've seen. We recently brought in Derek Overby, who's a great guy in the space. Haven't had a ton of time to work with him, but he was at Ball Blast and other things. Look for his writings. And we've got a ton of good baseball guys on recently. So if you like baseball content, those type of things, you definitely should be checking out the Triple Play Network in there. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and go away from Triple Play. So this is where I really want to start talking about just other guys in the space that I think deserve a little bit credit than they usually get, either because maybe they're not in the mainstream, but they put out just quality content. And my first guy is Nick. and his name is Nick Skrip at P2W Fantasy. Everybody kind of knows me and Nick have known each other for a long time. We have a show together every Wednesday night at, let's see, the time zone thing throws me off. 9 Eastern, 8 Central for him. Shout out to Chicago. And then 6 my time out here in California. And, I don't know. It's hard to put into words what Nick means to me as a person. We met a long time ago. Me, David, Jacob, all of us met. And Nick was always forthcoming on who he was. He always pushed my content, even though I had like 200 followers. He's always been one of those people that I can lean on in the space. Like, hey, man, I'm having a bad day. Tell me not to quit. And Nick will be there for me, and he's one of those guys too and he doesn't bring drama. That dude likes everybody. That guy pushes everybody. If anybody in the space, even guys he doesn't even talk to, if they fall up, they get a good job, they find these things, man, he is the first one to congratulate him. And to be honest, I can learn some stuff from him. I can emulate that because I don't do a good enough job of that. Nick does, though. And I don't want to get emotional just because, he's one of my best friends in the space. And not only just because he's an excellent fantasy mind. When you look at what he does basketball. I know he does into baseball a bit. His fantasy podcast, you check that out. He brings on so many guests. I think he's had over 80 guests this past year and a half to however long he's been going. He brings just good vibes, and that's kind of what I like about Nick and the area that he goes into. And he's one that everybody says, oh, he's hardworking, but you don't understand. Like, he's out here grinding in the morning. I don't think that man takes a day off from working out. Then he's a great father. His daughter's one of the cutest kids I've ever seen. He's a great husband. He coaches a varsity soccer sport that he's trying to rebuild a program. And as a coach who did that, that's a lot of work. People don't understand the time and commitment it takes. But that dude never misses a day. He never cancels on a show. That guy is always there. He's prepared. He knows his stuff. I don't know what else you can say about a guy like Nick except for follow him, and he deserves to blow up. I'm going to be honest with you. There's one guy in this space that deserves to blow up. It's Nick. And Nick is going to do it because that guy's work ethic is just obscene. I can't hang with him, and I have a pretty strong work ethic, I like to believe. He blows my ass out the water. So I want to just give him a shout-out to Nick. If I keep talking, I'm going to get emotional just because of how much he means to me as a person, as a man, as a friend. But if there's anybody I can recommend harder to follow, just anybody in this space to find his brand, it's P2W. Find some brand on Viridian Global. Go support him in any possible way you can. Hit that like button, subscribe button on his podcast. Leave a review. Just listen to him. And I swear, if you give him a podcast, you'll be hooked. And that's the kind of man he is, and he deserves it. So shout out to Nick just for being a good guy. Now, my other two guys, too, that I got to talk about is my other co-host. And that's, Christian Williams and Jeff Bell. And these guys do the Debbie Royale podcast with us. And that's something that we have done for, since about, right after the draft. So I'd say April or right before the draft. These two guys are vastly different. And me too. Like, we are very different, but that's what I think makes our show work. We talk about college football, betting, props, all that kind of stuff, but we also have different ways to look at the game. So I want to start with Christian first. Christian, is someone that is not afraid to challenge takes, and he's not afraid to put takes out there. The thing I respect the most about him is that he can argue, and I don't want to say he argues negatively because he doesn't. He's definitely grown up in that aspect. He argues in a way that he brings information to the table and he tells you how it is. And he will never back down, and he will always talk it out. And I've seen him, and we've done it. That's how we became kind of friends in the space over Trevor Lawrence. And he is someone who's prepared, watches football. I trust his evaluation. I trust about maybe 4 people's evaluation in this space. Like, truly trust. Like, hey, if you see this, I'm going to listen to you. Christian's one of those 4. That's it. That's how many people I trust when I say, hey, what do you look at this prospect? What do you see? He is one of those 4. That's it. So when I say that, I mean it. And he is someone that can do that. He has his own brand at The Cut. Please check that out. He has The Cut podcast. He's a great writer. This guy has many hats. He's a designer. He basically can do graphics. He can do video work. He can do all of that stuff. But the greatest thing about him is that not only is he a good person, he's an incredible football mind. He looks at the game a lot differently. And that rubs people the wrong way, because in this cookie cutter industry and this cookie cutter space, if you come off as different, you're an enemy. And that's bullshit. Excuse my language. That's just not how that should work. Christian's not like that. Christian's the kind of guy that he's going to adapt. He's going to be that person. So shout out to Christian for who he is. I wouldn't know what to do without him on the Devy Royale, and I wouldn't know what to do without him in the space. And, I wish you guys could see a group chat we have with Christian. We just talk football a lot of times and what we see and stuff like that. The value that you get from just talking to him is above and beyond. My other co-host, Jeff Bell, we definitely don't like each other this week because it's Michigan-Ohio State week. But, Jeff is a different character. I don't think I've ever quite met anybody like Jeff in this space. He likes to have fun, and he likes to have fun on Twitter, and he's very good at doing that. And he doesn't call it engagement farming, and I just want to shout that out because I like to bother him there. But he doesn't do that. I mean, he's an incredible person. I think I started following Jeff. He did like a draft, or he talked about the top Disney princesses on Disney princesses. And as someone who has 2 daughters, he has 3. We kind of it was a fun little jab stuff. We got into it. But without him, and quite frankly, I don't know if anybody knows. I mean, without Jeff, I'm probably not at Fantasy Pros. Without Jeff, I probably don't have the Devy Royale. Without Jeff, he means a lot to my career for where I'm at right now. He means a lot to me personally as just a person. I know that he's a special writer. And I know in an era where writing's kind of going away, he can bring it back. That's how talented he is at writing. He can bring a story back. He brings in a lot of different information. He's incredibly intelligent when it comes to football. He knows all the college football themes, pastimes, everything. He's dialed in college football as well. He's been watching it a while, a lot longer than me, but he is dialed in. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and he gets it. And he gets a little over the top sometimes with Ohio State, but I can honestly say, like, as far as the Devy Royale, it's one of the best podcasts for Devy out there. And I'm going to be humble on that, but I also think that we do a very good job of getting different views and different takes. Christian can really break down the analytical part. Jeff is an incredible storyteller, but he has the pulse of college football. And if you ever know what college football is, you understand what I'm saying there. And me, I'm just there. I'm just there to make it I look too stupid. But those 2 guys are incredibly valuable in this space, and you should follow them. You can find everybody's Twitter on this thing underneath. But those guys definitely make a difference in terms of my life and where I've gone in this space. So I just want to say thank you to both of you. Now, the next group of guys that I want to talk about are probably the guys I'm closest to in this space. I will be honest, I'm full-time dad, full-time job, full-time husband. Doesn't leave me a lot of, and coach, doesn't leave me a lot of time to get super close with people as most do on the space. But these guys definitely made an impact in my career. And that's the campus to Canton guys. And if you like college football, if you like Devy, but if you play in C2C leagues, you got to be following these guys. They created a website, and what they created was Campus to Canton. Now, Campus to Canton is one of those things that is going to take off. It's a different format, college football fantasy, but also with the NFL side. And these guys created a website because they knew there was a need for it. And they have ADP data, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to go through everybody. And again, there are probably going to be definitely some people I miss. And I'm sorry if I missed some of you guys in the group. But first of all, Austin and Colin, I believe, co-founded this thing. And Austin, his name is Debbie Dietz on Twitter. Austin is he's an incredible mind, especially football-wise. He knows what he's talking about. But also at the same time, like, he spent 30 to 45 minutes with me just talking over legal stuff in terms of stuff we're trying to do at Triple Play. That matters more to me because he values kind of my opinion. He values who I am as a person and willing to come talk to me, some guy here, and basically help him. And not a lot of people will do that. There are people in this space that say they will, but they won't. Austin's not one of those guys. I said, hey, can I have some time? And he's an extremely busy person, okay? And he lives a lifestyle that I wish I could live. But he definitely took some time out for me. So I want to say thank you to him for giving me that opportunity with him there. But also just as far as what he built a lasting legacy with that Campus to Canton website. It is amazing. And him and Colin have a great show. You need to check it out, Campus to Canton podcast. They do an NFL and an NCAA side. Those 2 guys do an excellent job with that. Austin definitely will get into it with you on Twitter. I like that. I like how he gets fired up and he go over there, challenges people's takes. Colin is one of the nicest people on Twitter. He definitely can challenge people. He's smart though. He knows where people kind of are. He knows talent very well. I trust his opinions on what he looks for. But again, these guys are just creating something that is different in the space. And And for that, they deserve a shout out because Campus of Canton is definitely there. Check out their tools, their ADP, everything that's there. And they gave me an opportunity to write for them. And I know if I ever have a story I want to write, or if I ever feel like, hey, I want to be there, I can go there. So I'm thankful for that as well. And they actually, unlike most sites in this damn space, they pay you. So that represents value to me and honor, because there's not a lot of honor in this area. They do that, and they will compensate you for your work, and you can't have anything more than that. Compensation matters. So the next guy of the C2C guys is Felix. Felix Sharp is someone I've had a relationship since we probably, we talked about Zach Wilson like last November before Zach Wilson was even cool. So about a year ago, and I've had him on a few podcasts with me. Felix is a sharp dude. He's a good dude. He's a good father. And I really, really, as you can tell, being a good dad to me means the most. As someone who didn't have a dad, I really value people staying in their kids' lives and being there. And I love following Felix on Instagram, doing those things because I can tell just how good of a person he is. And he's an incredible mind. Now, remember when I said I trust 4 people? Felix is also one of those people in there. If I have something about a prospect, and I say, hey, what do you see here? I'll send a message to Felix. He'll get me back in about 4 days. He's a little slow on the text back, but he'll talk to me about the product, and he'll say, hey, this is what I see on him on the field. This is what I see. And I trust his opinion above a lot of people's, just because he played the game. He's incredibly articulate, intelligent, and he sticks and stands by his take. So Felix gets a shout out for the Campus to Canton guys, just because, hey, I value who he is as a person. Now, my next guy is a guy that I have a friendly rivalry with, and that's Matt Bruning, sports fanatic. Me and Matt have had an up and down relationship in the space. I don't think Matt liked me very much when we first started. I think he was very weary about me. And he was working for a website I don't think liked me very much. But over the time, we've really established a good relationship. He works his ass off. And there's nothing more I can say about Matt than he just works his ass off. He has like 6 podcasts. He definitely, the round table, check that out. I know him and Dennis do that. And they are just great people. And Matt, I believe, does that too, the other Matt. So when you're looking at what they do in that podcast, they're great. The Debbie Debate, which Felix and Austin are on, is a great podcast. I've been listening to that since the start. I remember them talking like the first episode. I think I tuned in. So if you like Debbie, you definitely should follow all these guys as well. But Matt is one of the hardest working guys. He's a good guy too. I think he cares about people in the space. He cares about the product, and you see him go up, and you see him. He cares. He cares about the product that he puts out. He's got takes that he stands behind, and he's someone that definitely we've grown there. And it just shows you that just because you don't necessarily get along with someone right away, you will. And Matt's one of those guys. The next guy is Jarek Backus from the C2C guys. Jarek is incredible. He sat with me for almost an hour. He's an analytical master. And I love all of his stuff. Everything that he puts up there, just buying the Campus to Canton subscription, I think it's like $3 or $4. I don't know. I paid for the year, but it's $3 or $4 a month. Jarek's stuff is worth $50. That's how good his stuff is. And go there and find all his tools. He is incredible there. He just had a baby. Congratulations, Jarek, on that. But his tools, guys, if you care about anything about analytics and anything like that, Jarek is the one guy. And I will say, I have my questions about analytics, and especially some analytical people in the community. They can be very rude and obnoxious and yell and do those type of things. Jarek is not one of those guys. He's very humble. This is what my work is. And he lets his work do the talking. And it's incredible work. So please, go follow Jarek. He's incredibly underfollowed in this space because he doesn't out there. He doesn't push his stuff like, hey, I'm right because I'm the smartest guy in the room. Even though he is the smartest guy in the room in a town, he won't say that. So I'll say it for him. Go follow Jarek Backus. Incredibly, incredibly talented human being. Brandon Hayes, the next guy. He came out of the space. He does really video work for them. He does a good job there. Master PJ. The PJ I love. Master PJ, you can find him on Twitter. He's definitely, that dude doesn't wake up until 4 o'clock. No one knows what he does, but he does all the mocks. He is one of the best Campus to Canton players I've ever played against. He knows his stuff. The dude's in like 95 leagues. He's a great follow on Twitter. He's putting a little bit more information on there. You can follow him there, but also just he's one of the best, bar none. And then Alfred, we're going to talk about because I think his DFS stuff works. He does grind that stuff. He doesn't get a lot of recognition in the space that he needs to. And he's severely underfollowed as well. Follow his page, follow the stuff. Why wait till Sunday? I know that he has that. He does a lot of good stuff within the Campus to Canton stuff, especially in the Discord when he gets his stuff there. So make sure that you follow him there, just because he's one of those guys that he separates himself with work ethic. He always does that. He has good guests, and he's a no nonsense guy. So what I mean by that is he's just going to be someone that, hey, here's our plays, here's what we do, and he's going to follow it. And I respect him doing that, especially from his analytical profile. Other guys I'd be remiss to not talk about as well is Chris Moxley. Again, he's a great bettor. He's going to find all the bets for you out there to make money on there. Will, obviously, he does their stuff there. Dwight Peoples does a great job as well. All those guys at the Campus to Canton crew, they do an incredible job. So please follow these guys. They care. They do a good job. And their website is phenomenal. And it's one of the best websites in the space, bar none. Now, I'm going to go through some other guys really quick, more like singletons, and kind of go through some guys that I like and guys that I think deserve a little bit more credit. First guy up is Jake Estes. Jake is someone I've talked to for a while, and he came on and he does a really good job. He's got a great model. And when you look at his model and what he's able to accomplish with it, I think that he's one of the best, and he's a great writer. So when I ran into him and I've kind of noticed him, he puts out great stuff. He's a great Twitter follow just because he brings out true information. He's not doing any of the engagement stuff. He'll talk about just like opportunities, everything there. I know he just recently left Ball Blast as they've kind of transitioned to video content, and I know he's at Dynasty Nerds and Yards Per. He's going to be able to do some things that he really does. And to be quite honest with you, he's a smart person in this space, incredibly smart. And be sure to find his Dynasto Kings podcast. I know that him and Dirty Mike, and I'd be remiss not to say Dirty Mike. Mike is someone who's on the Campus to Canton website as well. They have a great podcast, and it's one of my favorites. So be sure to listen to that. Follow them. They're very smart people. Jake's a smart guy, great writer. I know he's going to have some opportunity to do some great things in this space. Especially with just because he's going to get some more opportunities, and I can't stress that enough. The next guy that I definitely want to mention, his name is Sam Wallace. I've known Sam for a while. We were in a tournament against each other last year about just who's those stupid tournaments they do on Twitter about analysts going against each other. We ended up in the finals, and he whooped my butt, and deservedly so. He kicked my butt. But I can't stress that Sam is one of the best writers. Him and Jeff truly make me rethink how to write. He's a dynasty writer for RotoViz. RotoViz is obviously one of the best fantasy companies in the space, but he's truly just a great writer. When you read him, he has a great mix of analyticals, but he also just gets to the point. And I love that. I love his ability just to kind of get to the point. Here's what you should know. He's following up a bunch, and I love that he's actually a social media contributor for FTN now. Obviously, FTN's a big company, and they hired him in the right spot. So I love that he's a social media contributor there, and he runs their social networks and does all that stuff. I can't express how important that is, especially for people in the space and what he's doing. Sam's a superstar, and if anybody deserves to go full-time into space, it's going to be Sam. And the one thing I do want to make sure that I talk about here is you can go sign up for his Patron, and his Patron is something special. And it's called the Fantasy Football Community. You can find it on his page. You can find it at his for Twitter. But the cool thing that he does is he has an all-star Patron. And essentially, you have a direct line to him via Patron, all that stuff. And he also, one thing that he does, he has a very good connection with people in here. You could schedule a 30-minute fantasy consultation each month. If you sign up for his Patron for the All-Star, he has his own Discord as well. But for the All-Star portion of it, if you do that and you look at that, you can schedule a 30-minute consultation with you. And let me tell you something. I did a podcast with Sam, and I spent an hour with him. The amount of information I learned in an hour is worth more than any other fantasy site you can pay for. So if you are in this, you not only do have a direct line with him, but you also can set up a consultation with him and just talk to football about him. There's no one in the space that deserves it more, but there's also just incredible knowledge. I know firsthand, and this isn't someone just trying to build up and say bias Patron, because that's just not what I do. If you know me, that's not what I do here. And I know people that have done that. And then after that, they said, man, I was playing Dynasty all wrong. Sam really opened my eyes here. And so do that to become a better manager. It's worth the money. And there are certain people in this space that are worth the money, and there are certain people that aren't. Sam's worth the money of everything. So go support his Patron. I can't stress that enough. Now, my next guy is someone who's kind of transitioned a little bit away from fantasy, but he's still one of my guys on here, and I want to give him a shout out. It's Kayne Rob. He's actually the video coordinator director for the Manette Beavers. Okay, I know I said that wrong. Probably he's going to yell at me. But you know what? He was someone that during the pandemic I really connected with. He's a good guy. He cares. He knows football. Follow him there. But he's really doing real life stuff. And that's what I like to see. I love that he's doing that. I know he's going to get me married. I know that he's going to be the video coordinator. And it wouldn't shock me to see Kane be in some type of coaching in college in anywhere. So go follow him at Kayne Rob, because you know what? He's going to be something big in this world, and he deserves that. And I really value his friendship. We don't talk all the time, but I do. Every time I get a message from him, I'm like, hey, my boy Kane is messaging me. So I miss talking to him daily about fantasy, but he is someone that I think is going to be very successful in life. So if you're looking for just a good person to follow, a guy that knows his stuff, that will talk to you when he has time, Kane is one of those guys for sure. He's in there. My next guy is Carl Vagle. And Carl is my commissioner in one of the best leagues that there is. It's called the Program. Highly recommend maybe applying for that. It's a C2C league where we actually like the NCAA 14 game where we recruit, do all this stuff. First of all, I want to apologize to Carl because I am always late on my recruiting sheets. And this guy puts up with me. It's on me. I'm just a terrible procrastinator. And this guy is not ever yelled at me. So shout out to Carl there. He's a super flex ranker for Dynasty Nerds. He's a realtor as well. So if you want to get a house, go hit up Carl. But he's just a good person. Like I've been on a couple streams with him. You could tell he's a good friend. He's just a good friend. And he's someone that we can talk to about other things there. If I DM him about a question, he's right on it, and he's one of the best commissioners in the space. And I think that matters, especially in an area that, hey, maybe you want to have, good people to do this. So shout out to Carl for being a good guy. He knows his fantasy. He's an incredible C2C player, and especially with Debbie, he does know what he's talking about, how to create talent. And I like to cheat off of him a little bit, and I'll look at guys that he takes and he likes. We're not in the same league, so it's okay. But shout out to Carl. Good luck in the Gator Bowl. I know you're playing the Gator Bowl for our program. But thank you for being a very good commissioner, and thank you for just being a good person, Carl. Now, the next group that I wanted to talk about, and that's my guys at Dynasty Rewind. And unfortunately, I love the Dynasty Rewind guys. I know I contributed with them a little bit. Other things have taken me away from them. But they're good people, and they rival right up there with Campus the Canton guys, just for people that I just enjoy being around in the space. And I'm going to give a shout out to our guy, the CEO, Michael Bauer. Michael Bauer has become a friend of mine, and he's someone that I do text on the regular. I like to joke with him and stuff. And he reminds me a lot of myself in a lot of different ways. He has a wonderful family, his daughter. He likes football. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I love that he's an anti-group chat advocate, because I am an anti-group chat advocate as well. I do not like group chats. I'm out. I'm not in any group chats unless I have a lead or like a podcast with these guys. I don't like group chats. He doesn't either. He's a Debbie guy. He crushes the Debbie scene, and he'll laugh about that. He loves Jalen Hurts. He's a Jalen Hurts guy. So, he was ahead of that curve. So shout out to Michael there. But at the same time, he's also someone I lean on. Michael is someone that I can text and talk to you about the space, and he's been there for me in times where I've thought about not doing this anymore, and he's pushed me and said, no, you should. And there's not a lot of guys that are built like Michael in terms of just integrity, who he is as a person. And again, as you can tell, I gravitate towards people that represent the values that I represent in life, and he definitely represents that. And he's a hard worker. And I think what people don't understand about this space is that these guys, the Dynasty Rewind and all these guys, we all have full-time jobs. We do this because it's a hobby for us, yes, but we also, we love doing this because that's just who we are. And so he does that. He built up a brand. His podcast is legit. We look up the Dynasty Rewind podcast. His channel is legit. His YouTube channel, which we're going to talk about Bob here in a minute, is incredible. They're building something very special at Dynasty Rewind. I'm happy to say that they are my friends and people that I can rely on. But Michael is a big part of the reason why I'm here. I've known Michael since the beginning. He was part of me and Nick and Jacob's crew, and just guys that we always kind of talked to and communicated. And I'm happy to say that Michael's going to be a friend of mine for a long time, and not just in fantasy, just in life. In his Rewind crew, he's got tons of good guys, Porkman, all these different guys that I want to talk about. Shout out to everybody in the Dynasty Rewind crew. Matty Big Chest. Matty is one of the best graphics guys in this space. If you need graphics, go hit up Matty. He can do it. And make sure you pay him first, though. Stop not paying graphics guys in this space. It kills me. But Matty, excellent graphics guy, excellent C2C player, Devi guy, and he's really him and Nate Christian from Dynasty Rewind. I was going to talk about him too. They've done a great job of building their brand in the Devi space. They're very underrated in Devi. They know what they're talking about. I love their videos on Devi. I check them out as much as I possibly can on YouTube. I like to get them. And they're going to make a name for themselves in the Devi community. I really enjoy what they've done. They're growing. They're young. Well, they're younger than me, which isn't hard, as Michael would probably point out. But Maddie and Nate, two guys that definitely in Devi circles, if you want to follow them, do that. Their Dynasty Rewind YouTube channel, subscribe to it. Find these guys because they look at guys different ways. They've been on guys certain times. I know that Maddie was on Malik Willis very early. He was a big Cunningham guy, Malik Cunningham, Nate as well. Me and Nate still have Jamon Osborne to basically cry over. But, those two guys in that space are great. Bob Van, IDP, you can find him on Twitter. He runs a YouTube channel, and that dude's creating an amazing channel. This guy works his ass off. He has a video every week at least. I know he does the production side. I know he does the editing side. Bob's someone I talked to very early on a show that I did with my former website, and I love his IDP knowledge. And he's just an overall good guy. He works his butt off for the brand. He's built that brand up. Sean Fournier as well. The intern, all these other guys that are going to be there. They do an incredible job. So shout out to Dynasty Rewind. Find their YouTube channel. Please find their YouTube channel. Follow it. Find their podcast. Follow it. But yeah, Nate, Sean, Bob, Maddie, Michael, Porkman, all those guys over there. You guys are Dan, all those guys there. Okay. B-League says, you guys do an incredible job at Dynasty Rewind. They have a brand that's worth following, in my opinion. And so make sure you do that. Make sure you follow their brand and everything they have there. Now, my next guy that I want to talk about that's going to be an absolute superstar in the space, Alex Caruso. This kid's got 1 billion followers on TikTok or something like that. I don't know. I'm old, so I don't necessarily know what TikTok is. But this guy, overnight, he already has over 5,000 followers on Twitter. If you want to know who's going to be the next superstar of this space, it's Alex. He's a Football Guys contributor now, so we know he's going to be an amazing. They found talent. And if Football Guys finds you and finds talent, you're that guy. When I say Alex going to be a superstar in space, I mean it. He's going to be a superstar. He's going to be someone that we talk about in 10 years. I knew that kid when I was on Twitter. He's that big. He has a great fresh fantasy podcast. Find that. He has incredible talent. He's smart. He goes through it. He's also a fellow DeAndre Swift truther. So shout out to Alex for that. We were big on DeAndre Swift coming in. I think we talked about it over the summer. But Alex equals superstar. That's what you need to know. Go follow him. First of all, it's at Alex Caruso on Twitter. On TikTok, find him, Alex Caruso. He's an incredible TikTok follow. But this guy's going to be the next superstar. He's that guy. So go follow him now because you want to get in on it early. I'm glad to have a relationship with him. I know he's a young kid. I know he's battling a lot of stuff in terms of school. And if you can do that plus school, he's not even doing this full time, guys. Dude's crushing it. I mean, he's incredible for a young man. I wish I was in his, and wish I would have done what he did when he was his age because he's doing everything right. And you got to follow him. Just be a good person. So Alex, keep it up, man. I know you're grinding out there. I know you're gonna find your space. So keep going through it. My next guy, Amr Gabr. What can I say about this man? He writes for RotoViz. He writes for 444 Football. First of all, that's all you got to know about him. He's there. He's an incredible writer. So, whenever I had him on a pod, we were talking about kind of age cliffs, and I'll definitely make sure you find that. And he talks about wide receivers and everything there. And that's when I knew he was smart, and he's taken off. He's done an incredible job for 444. He's done an incredible job for RotoViz. He's an incredible follow. Okay. He's an incredible follow on Twitter. He's someone that definitely takes off and goes through there. And he's just somebody that you just get to know because he's a smart young kid. Again, just like Alex, the reason why I like to pair these guys pretty close to each other when I was talking about them is that he's a superstar. Like he's going through there. Okay, he's gonna talk about that. And I know that he was huge on Jonathan Taylor. He wrote an article, I believe, in March about how great Jonathan Taylor is going to be and just everything like that. Everything you need to know is that he believes in Jonathan Taylor. And he believed in it early, not like when we talk about these guys saying he's now. He's believed in him for a long time. His process is great. He's a fellow CD truther, so I got to give him a shout out there. Overall, just an incredible human being, incredible person. Please follow him. And I can't say enough about him. So shout out to him. Prayers up to him right now. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do in this space. Next guy that I want to talk about is Shane Barrett. Shane Barrett is somebody that I've known for also a long time. But Shane, hey, he's got something going on. He's a co-founder of the FF Collective. On Twitter, you can find him on YouTube. He's also the co-host of the Fantasy Nightcap, Dynasty writer for Going for Two. He does a lot of stuff. But the biggest thing I want to make sure I focus on with Shane is he's the host of the Collective. And you know what? The Collective is not – he's got a great group of guys over there. Trying to build something there. And I like what he's done. They have ADP services. They got the podcast collaboration. You can look at best ball that they do daily. They have great articles. Their YouTube channel is great. They like to connect with people in the space, which I really like. So there's a lot of good things that I like about what they've done. Shane has kind of brought that to the fruition. I know he's one of the co-founders of it. Follow the Fantasy Nightcap. Shane's a good dad. He's got that thing going on that I like as well. He's someone that I like to connect with all the time. And I don't talk to all his people, but as a college football guy, as an NFL guy, Shane's someone that you can look up to and just know that he has good intentions. And that's a little bit different than most in this space, is that he's not trying to just use you to get to that next level. I think that can happen. Shane's never been like that with me. He's always had great interaction with me. So please go give the Collective a chance. Go to YouTube channel, go find it, that Fantasy Football Collective, and just give him a chance. I think you'd be very pleasantly surprised with what's there. I want to give a quick shout out to my guy Wes. He is at Loafin' It on Twitter. I don't think he uses his last name very much because he doesn't trust the government very much. But Wes is someone that, he works right now with he's working right now with Aaron Torres from Fox Sports. He has his Pickin' Pigskin Winners podcast. Wes is someone that I've known for a long time, and he's been there for me a long time as well. He's an incredible follower. He's very, very smart. Wes is one of those smart guys in there. He's an Alabama fan. He knows all things about Alabama football. He knows his betting. So if you like sports betting, Wes is the guy to go follow there. He always pushes people too. I think Wes cares more about other people in the space than he does for him. He's always saying, hey, you're going to be the next guy. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. And so that qualifies things for me because, he cares about his own brand. He's very good at it, but he also pushes other people in the space. And that's what I like to do as well. Sorry, I've been talking a while. So the biggest thing for me is I want to push other people too. I learned that from him. So I learned from him. I learned from Wes that it's okay to push other people and be there for you. And it's okay to be selfish as well, but you also need to look out for good people. So thank you, Wes, for teaching me that. I appreciate you. Now, the next two guys I'm going to put together because they're co-hosts, and that's Todd Foster. I co-own a team that he's doing a lot of heavy lifting for right now, but he's a father, he's a husband, he's a teacher, he's a Debbie guy. He works for IDP Guys. He does a lot of great stuff there. He has a great podcast, and I want to shout out. It's called The Tale of Two Rivals, and that is where him and FF Spaceman, Dave Wright, they kind of talk about everything about fantasy football. They have a great relationship together, and you can tell that they do a good job there. Todd is one of the most underfollowed Debbie guys that I know. He really knows his stuff. He doesn't use Twitter a lot. I know that. But we go to his work on IDP Guys, his rankings, and all that kind of stuff. If you want to, we actually had a few episodes together, and we're going to get together again talking about just the college football playoff last year, just Debbie ranks, wide receivers, all of that. Todd is a guy to go to. Now, his co-host as well. His co-host is incredibly talented, and he is someone that you need to follow if you care about anything in this space in terms of analytics and what he has. He has a great patron. He's a writer, so Dave Wright's a writer for DLF Football. He's the co-host like we talked about. He also has the Rookie Fever podcast, which is another great podcast that we mentioned. Swagzilla is on there, and I really like Swag. He does a good job there. I know Arbuck is too. And so those guys do a good job with Rookie Fever. They talk about all the rookies and all that. I was very blessed that they asked me to come on that. We talk about my guy Trey Lance, so thank you, Dave, for that. But also, he has a great Patron, and really, it's basically just free data for you for the most part. You can get a rivalry tier; it's all in. You can ask him video chats and all that stuff. But his database is incredible, and he has an NFL database that's public. It goes through everything that you want to know. If you want to know anything about that, he go to his database. I don't know what else to say there. You're going to see everything that you need to know. That's how I started just understanding football in a different way analytically. And he's one of those guys, if you just email him or send him a message, he'll respond. Every time he's going to respond. And that matters to me because there's some people that say they will respond and they never will. Not him. Dave's going to respond to you. He's going to say, hey, he's going to help you. And he helped a dumb guy like me understand analytics. That's all you need to know about Dave. Dave can do that. Sign up as Patron, just even if it's $2. And that just shows him that he matters there. He gets data out literally the next day. So Sunday, he'll have Sunday's data on Monday, Monday's data on Tuesday. And it's impressive. And he does it basically for free, guys. So go find him. Give him a follow. He's underfollowed as hell. But also use his database. His database will help you kind of identify prospects, identify players. Now, let's go to a writer that I really like. And, he doesn't get the shout out that he deserves, but that's Teddy Ricketson. Teddy is someone that, unfortunately, he's a South Carolina fan, but we're not going to, hold that against him too much. He's a contributor for DK Live. He was the former lead writer for Ball Blast. He's a contributor for Fantasy and Frames. And when I say that he's one of the best writers too, he's a great writer. He's bringing writing back, in my opinion, in terms of just the quality that you like to see. I know I read a CD. First thing I knew about Teddy is, I read a CD article. I was looking for some data on CD, and I found his article, and I was like, damn, this is really good. And then I just kind of followed him, and I literally went in this rabbit hole where I read like 10 Teddy articles in a row, which is hard for me to do. I have OCD pretty bad. I have ADHD. It's hard for me to kind of stay focused, but his articles kept me focused. And Teddy's definitely someone in this space that deserves a shot somewhere else. He's going to be big. He's going to go somewhere. I know that as a writer. And I'm hoping that he gets that chance because he really, really needs a shot to show like, hey, how incredible he is. He knows he's good. I know he's good. A lot of people do, but go follow him at Teddy Ricketson on Twitter, but also just follow his work. His work is valuable, and it's valuable for everybody to read it. Next guy that I want to kind of go over is Fantasy Mike. And Fantasy Mike is someone that I know he's taken a step back a little bit in terms of creation of content over there. He's a writer. He was a writer for Ball Blast. I know that he's into FSWA. He does a lot of stuff in terms of just fantasy football redraft dynasty. In my opinion, you should just follow him on Twitter right now and just ask him questions. He's someone that I also reach out to, say, hey, how was this trade? What did it look like? I know he's an incredible trader for dynasty. He knows how to values very well. I trust his values much more than I trust my values. So I reach out to him. He's one of the best podcast guests I've ever had. So I've interviewed a lot of people on my podcast, and especially on the Triple Play YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. Fantasy Mike is one of those guys that definitely is up there in top tier 3, top 3 guys I've ever had. He's informational. He knows what he's doing. He's professional. He's on task. He does a lot of great things when you're on there with him. He's not looking at other things. He's focused. So Fantasy Mike, shout out to him. Shout out to his Boston love out there. I'm sure he's loving Mac Jones right now. We did talk about Boston as Patriots. So, Mike, I hope you're having a great Thanksgiving. I appreciate you, my friend. But everybody else, he's a good follow out there, and he's very underrated in terms of that. Now, 2 guys that I want to mention that I would be remiss to mention is my guys at the Coach Report, or Coach Approach, excuse me. And the Coach Approach is just 2 guys that I've probably known these 2 guys. I've known Brett Pape for a very long time. We were actually in the Scott Fish league, and it wasn't the Scott Fish Bowl, it was the satellite leagues, and we kind of connected there. I've just kind of known of him. And Brett and his co-host Coach Bruce, they have a podcast for The Cut, and what it is, and he's also contributed for Yards Per, Coach Bruce is, and they have a Coach Approach. And what they do is they bring football back to fantasy football as the approach. And basically they go through it and they look at football right now from a coaching perspective. Both these guys coach at a very high level, highly respected people. And I love their approach to the game because as a former coach, sometimes our way of thinking the game is a lot different than what you see on spreadsheets or what you see on film or what you see on whatever. There's a game within the game. And I think people don't understand chemistry, people, ideas. Where does this come from? Hey, why is Spencer Rattler struggling? Well, we talked about it on their podcast and we mentioned it. And I know that Coach Bruce talked about it, the intangible stuff. He said, hey, I'm a little worried about the intangible stuff. And this was early on. This is before Rattler got benched and all this stuff. And he was right. Like, there's a little bit of intangible stuff there. They have a top-notch podcast. The coach approach is different. If you're a coach, I highly, highly recommend that. They have great guests, but those two guys alone, they don't even need guests. What they do and what they bring to the table is good enough for this. And if you're a coach, I highly, highly recommend going and taking a look at that and for who they are. And then Brett's just a top-notch guy. He reaches out to me. Coach Bruce's as well. Both those guys will reach out, and it doesn't have to be about fantasy. It can just be about life. And two guys that I know I can talk to and just talk to about anything. And so shout out to them for what they bring to the table. The next brand I want to talk about, everybody knows this brand. It doesn't, it's one of those things. Everybody knows the brand of the Undroppables. And so we know the Undroppables and what they've done. It is funny that the Undroppables are a brand that when I first started, I was like, man, those guys are different. And I was a little taken aback by them, but they just know their shit and they know it. And so I got to give them a shout out for that. They know what they're talking about, and they absolutely know. They have great group. I know that Chalk, their leader, they're the director of everything. Chalk's a great guy. I've had him on the podcast as well. That's a podcast worth watching. You can find on the YouTube channel. He talks about content creation, if you're a content creator, how they work. And then he also has fantastic knowledge. So Chalk 101 is definitely a follow there. He put out a thread today of everybody at the Undroppables. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody because I want to try to keep this to an hour-ish. But guys that I've really kind of gone to from the Undroppables and that I think that deserves shout outs to. And everybody there does great work. Please find his thread. I don't want to minimize everything like Kyle, all these other guys that do great work. I don't want to minimize what they do because just by saying that. But follow his thread and follow everybody. Everybody at the Undroppables always gets hired by other companies because they're so good. And that's actually the Undroppables, but that just shows you the talent. They can find talent out of nowhere. And I give the freaking Undroppables and Chalk, especially Tommy, and I know Jax is there, the credit that they go find they go find people that are getting just screwed by other people because they don't have a big following. They don't have all these followers on Twitter. They keep getting picked up. They go find those diamonds in the rough and they crush it. Ashley's been crushing it. All these different groups that they've had, they go find those people and elevate them. And I cannot stress how important that is. And especially they find, great female analysts, and that's amazing because there's not enough of those. They go find other, minorities that don't get the justifications they need. They get it with the Undroppables, and I love that about the Undroppables and what they bring to the space. They allow other groups that really don't get the opportunities that they should. They get it with the Undroppables, and that is something that I respect the hell out of them for. Tommy Moe is obviously someone that I've known for a long while. He's a California boy like me. Follow him, man. He does great work on TikTok. He's got a funny ass TikTok. He's a good person. He's a good writer. Tommy definitely has that ability as well. He's a master of everything. The guy he's funny. He knows his football. They were all on Jonathan Taylor very early on, so shout out for them. I know he writes for Downtown Rams. He's a contributor there, and I know he's going to do big things. I have a feeling that he's going to get on somewhere. I know he has his 2-on-1 fantasy sports podcast as well, but he's going to get on somewhere, and he's going to get on for an NFL team. I know it. I'm going to see him on the sideline. So, Tommy, keep going there. Chalk, I don't know what else to say about you other than you just keep building that brand and doing what you're doing, man. You're an incredible person in the space. I appreciate everything that you give the other people in this space, especially analysts that would never have got a shot without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart giving those people a shot, because I was one of those people too, not for the Undroppables, but for another company. They gave a shot at me and said, hey, go, you can do whatever you want. So I understand how important it is to have people like you in this space. So thank you. And Jax is another guy. Jax Falcone is a guy that I don't know if he knows this, but he actually unfollowed me on Twitter when I first started. And I was like, man, Jack's one of the biggest accounts that ever followed me and he unfollowed me. I wonder what I did to piss Jax off. But recently we got onto a podcast together, and it was like we were just long lost friends. That guy's a good guy. I could talk to Jax pretty much for freaking 4 hours, have a beer with that guy, just talk sports with him, and wouldn't even have to hit the live button. We would just be kind of in a living room. And I really respect that. Follow his podcast, especially. Jax does an amazing podcast. And I think the podcast, one thing that the podcast does, and it's at Dino Game Theory, and you can find everything there, is that he elevates his sources. He gets great people to go on the pod. He keeps a very friendly atmosphere of if it's just me and your buddies talking about football, but he keeps it at a very high level IQ. It's not entry level stuff. His podcast is incredible. I know he's recently sick, so I know he's doing better. So shout out to him. But they have an incredible team there. I know that, and they have incredible people at that site. So shout out to everybody at the Undroppables. I know I didn't mention everybody. I'm sorry. I don't have the time to go through every single one. I know Mike Reedy is there. I've had Mike on, but Undroppables are doing something very, very special. So shout out to everybody there, and especially Chalk for enabling that to happen. The next guy I did definitely want to mention, and he was part of the Undroppables. I know that he's not there anymore because he got a different position. Adam Hutchison is someone that I've known for a while. Adam is a sports injury analyst, especially. He's one of the best in the business. He's someone that I look into. I say, hey, what do you see here? You can follow him at @thereal_Adam_H. He works for 444 Football right now as an injury analyst. He's also an FSWA member. Go find him. He's incredibly talented. Unfortunately, he's a Purdue truther, but if you get by the Purdue thing, incredible analyst in terms of injuries and sports, and he's worth the follow. There's a lot of sports injury analysts out there that I would definitely not follow compared to Adam. Adam knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about, and he's just a good person all around. So shout out to Adam. Hopefully Purdue basketball doesn't let you down this year, my friend. All right, next guy is Daniel Harms. He is someone that I've recently I connected with him a little while ago, but you know what? He's a film analyst for the FF Astronauts. And the Astronauts have obviously a great brand as well. You can find him on YouTube. You can send him a DM. Seriously, email him. He talks about it there. He's an incredible, he's a Chiefs analyst. I just call him a Chiefs analyst because he goes through there. But if you like film and you like breaking down film and you like people that know what the hell they're finally talking about, Daniel's the type of guy to kind of go into it. And he breaks down film very well. He has a very unique way he looks at football. And I like that about him. And he's one of those guys too that doesn't kiss people's butts. And I like that. If you're just going to kiss people's butts and then that's how you fall up, I don't like that at all. He's not like that. He's going to go through good old fashioned hard work. And that's what I like about Daniel. He's a great film analyst. He goes through he works his butt off, and he's someone that I really, really value in this space for what he's been able to do. And I have a feeling he's going to get somewhere, and he's going to fall up somewhere because he's an incredible guy. But follow him on Twitter. Follow him at the FF Astronauts. His film work is incredible. At In Harm's Way 19 is where you can follow Daniel. But just a shout out to Daniel for the kind of person he is. Shout out to you, man. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Now, the next guy that I definitely want to make sure I mention, and this is kind of on the Debbie aspect of it, and these guys are all different kind of Debbie members in different ways, and they have all kind of different brands. But the Debbie community, aside from a few, really embrace new people, and they've always kind of embraced that. So I got to give a shout out to Debbie people. Like I said, there's a few out there that don't, and it's unfortunate because we can be so much better if we all work together and actually push each other up. But these are the guys that really do. Britt Sanders is the first, and I'm going to kind of pair these guys together because they do some work together. Britt, excellent guy. He has a podcast, Rookie on the Rise podcast. He does a lot of good work on the Debbie dashboard for Debbie Deep Dive. We'll talk about Brandon here in a minute. He has yards per. He also does Breakout Finder. He's an incredible writer for Breakout Finder. He's going to find guys that you don't know about. And he works with, like I talked about, Brandon Lejeune. He's the Debbie Deep Dive podcast, Debbie Dashboard. These guys have created an amazing dashboard, something that if you're a Debbie member, I would go take a look at that. You're going to see rankings. You're going to be looking at QB ranks, player databases, ADP, everything there. Brandon has done that. He has an incredible YouTube channel. If you like film breakdowns and if you just like the old-fashioned, hey, I'm going to break this down, he's doing that. He has the ultimate Debbie dashboard there. He's got 1.42K followers there. Subscribe to his his YouTube channel. You're going to see a bunch of different film. The recent one, he had Tyler Beatty down. He had Donovan Edwards, Jalen Tolbert. He goes to the Debbie Huddle, especially with his dashboard. I think Brandon does an incredible job, and so does Britt, and so does Cory. Cory is one of my good friends on there, too. I want to give him a shout-out. All three of those guys have a very good community base, and they built a community to help each other out, especially in the Debbie space. Cory is someone out there that he's a contributor for Breakout Finder as well. He was on Treylon Burks before anybody else was. Before all these other big guys were talking about him, Cory was on him. He's an incredible talent evaluator. Him and Brandon and Britt together are a dream team. Those guys, in terms of Debbie, are people that you need to follow and you need to listen to because they really bring the best out of people in the community, in the space. And I can't give them a shout out any more than I absolutely can. The next Debbie guys that I want to talk about, and This guy's got a special place in my heart. He doesn't know that, and I don't like to shout it out. He likes to be on the outer circle. But Kane Fossell, Debbie Kane, he's someone that he's a content creator for Debbie Marketplace. I know he works with Shane Halm too. I got to give him a shout out there. But Kane was someone I followed very early on when I had just a DLF subscription. I read his writing, did that kind of stuff. And he's always been very nice to me. And he's always been someone that he's nice to a lot of different people in the space. Me and him don't agree on players very much, but that's okay because he's always respectful in a way. He's super about value, player value. So, and I like that about his podcast. It's different. It's not just him talking about these players. He's very good with trading and value and those type of things. But the thing that stood out to me is that Kane always just was a nice guy. He always helped me. He said, hey, yeah, this is how you kind of roll. This is the things that you do. And he definitely elevates himself to me in the space just because of the way he treats people and the way he kind of looks at the space. And I know he has a great Patron, the Debbie Marketplace Patron there. They've added some pieces. We're going to talk about some guys that they've added to it. But you should check out their Patron. It's not expensive and it's very good. So Kane, shout out to Kane. The other guy that's part of this that he also kind of does the Debbie Marketplace. He's also DLF Football Database Manager, Michael. And Michael is at Nelly Analytics. It's a little play on words for analytics there. I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Michael agree on nothing, maybe except for Lou Nichols. But he is respectful and he looks at players in a different way that I like. And I will use him all the time in terms of what he thinks about players and look at my own analysis. Now, I don't agree with him very much, but when we both agree, I know that maybe we're probably right on this prospect. But Michael is doing pretty good work over there. I know he's helping out a little bit of a podcast, a little bit of other stuff. Shout out to Michael for what he's done in the space. And I know that he's one of the smartest people in the space and he knows it too. So sometimes he can yell at me about that, but he's an incredible follow, but he's also just a good dude and he's good. He cares. He looks at space the right way. He works for DLF. You can't say enough about that. So shout out to those guys. Kane's building something special at the Debbie Marketplace with who he's brought on. And I know that he works with the fantasy headliners too. So make sure you check out Headliner U, give them a follow if you can. All right, so a few more guys that we're going to mention and go through here, and then we'll be done. The next guy is David Gautieri. David is the tight end master. I call him the tight end guru because he is. And, David has always been someone that I've looked up to in the space. I don't know if he's younger than me. I think he is. But I've had him on a podcast, and I just realized how smart he was. And, I love it. I love his intro line on his bio. A top tight end means more than you think, right on my tombstone. And he's one of those guys that understands kind of Kyle Pitts. He understands the tight end mantra. He's a great follow in terms of Twitter. He always is putting out information. He's someone that you can always talk to. He loves sneaky buy low candidates. He also is one of those guys too that he's a commissioner of a league I'm in, but I trust people that actually follow the advice they give. There's a lot of people in the space that will say oh yeah, Laviska is a top 5, wide receiver, whatever. Just, I don't want to throw Laviska truthers, but they won't treat him at that in their leagues because they know they'll lose. And so what that shows me is they're just trying to gain followers one way. David's not like that. Whatever David says, he does. Like Cam Akers, I know he believes in his talent that he's going to bounce back. He buys low on Cam Akers in all his leagues. I've seen it. I'm in them league personally. So if you want someone that I know you can trust that he's going to give the information out the right way and the way that you all kind of talked about it, David's that guy. Follow David because he's someone that gives value out, follows his own advice, and he's not trying just to gain followers. And I respect that. I respect that as a person, and he always pushes people up too. He helps people. So shout out to David for everything he does there. Now, next guy that I'm going to mention, and he's a superstar. I don't need to really mention him. I don't even know why I mentioned him because everybody probably follows him already. But that's Troy King. And it's funny because me and Troy, I don't even think we've ever been on a pod together. I met Troy in some group when I first early started on. I think he wrote a Jordan Howard article for the Dolphins. And I said, hey, that's a pretty good article. And I think I pushed it out and we've kind of connected there. We definitely don't run in the same circles. He runs in his circles and he kind of has his people. He's an incredible content creator for Yahoo. Football guys also. I know he's got his TikTok. He's got his own YouTube channel. He works really hard for what he has. And I think the thing that separates Troy from a lot of people is that he's very respectful. Even though me and him maybe don't run in the same circles as each other, he definitely pushes. He'll like my stuff. I know that we can talk, and we have very good interactions with each other. Troy's definitely setting the tone for what you should kind of be in this community. and what he's done. And he's basically, he's a master of all trades as well. He's got TikTok. He's got Thirsty Thursdays. He's got his life. He's a great dad. I've seen him with his family. He's got his YouTube channel, Football Guys. He's got his stream show with Dave Victoria. He does a lot of different stuff in here, and for him to get to Yahoo is an incredible accomplishment. And he should be commended for what he did and for how he's done it. And the sky's the limit for him. I expect him to get over 30,000 followers soon, and he's going to be a force in the industry. And shout out to him for just being a good person. So thank you, Troy, for being one of those guys that we can really rely on in this space to kind of push forward the space and make it a positive environment. Now, the next guy I want to talk about he's not necessarily a content guy, but man, me and Todd have he's one of my favorite people in terms of just following in this space. And that's, Todd A is what he has it. He's at Wagle Left. He loves the wing tee. So I'm going to shout him out because as a guy who played in the wing tee, got to give him a shout out there. But he's just a good person. And, he has a good follow. He's definitely under follow just because he's just fun. He likes to push people. I see him always comment on people's stuff, creator stuff. And he knows the game really well. He's a very smart person. I wish he would do more in the space because I think he really could elevate the space very well with his ability to talk, his ability to kind of create content. He really could create content very well. So, Todd, thank you for being one of those guys. I think the thing about Todd is he followed me really, really, really early on. And he was someone that definitely has been there with me since the beginning. So I would definitely wanted to give him a shout out because without him, I wouldn't even be. Without any of my followers, I'm not anywhere I'd want to be. The next guy, and that's Jon Jeune. Jon is someone that, man, he's the biggest Jets fan I know. So first of all, I wanted to say sorry, Jon. You've had a rough few years of your life, but he does a lot of good things. He's the host of the FF Diagnostics, Liftoff New York Giants. I know that he works with the Gridiron Writings guy. He's a fan-sided contributor, the Jets Press. He pretty much does it all, but he's one of the nicest guys in this space. Nicest. There's no question about it. Jon does that. He works hard. He does what he needs to do. He has an incredible wife, and I know he posts pictures of them, and they do an amazing job there. He's always elevating people. He's always pushing them up there. But follow him, especially if you're a Jets guy. And we got to give him a shout out, right? As a Jets fan, you're really, really pushing the barrel there. But Jon, I appreciate your friendship in the space. I appreciate you. Follow Jon. Find it in the description, his @name for Twitter, and go follow him. If you're a Jets fan, Jon is the guy to go listen to and go through. Next guy is a guy that recently kind of came on, and that's Britt. Brito. He's a beleaguered Miami fan of all sports, and we like to mess with him there. He's a contributor and marketing guy for The Cut. He does an amazing job of marketing, and I know The Cut's happy to have him because he works his butt off on the marketing side. The one thing that people don't understand in this space is the marketing side is very complicated, and it's really hard to make money. If we're being completely honest with everybody out there, it's incredibly hard to make money in this space, and Brett has done that pretty well for what he's trying to do. He's obviously a smart guy. He's an SFB. I know in other leagues that I've seen him in, he competes very well. He's a good follow too. He makes me laugh. He definitely comments everybody. I never see him in drama. So Brett Brito, especially if you're looking for a marketer, I'm sure he can give you guys some advice. I'm going to lean on him too to talk about this, but Brett is definitely someone that for marketing purposes, if you want someone to be there, Brett would be an incredible guy to kind of go through. The next guy, and again, I hope I don't butcher his name because he's one of my favorites. Ben Kukanis, I believe is how you say that. He's the owner and operator of Fantasy Points. And, Fantasy Points is something that Triple Play, they were nice enough to allow us to kind of, we're using their website, and we have a Triple Play code we're going to talk about. But Fantasy Points is an amazing company, and it's someone that we are grateful that they asked us to kind of use their brand in our podcast. So we give them a shout out there, and we use their website and we use their tools. But I've talked to Ben a few times. I've been around him just based on shows that I've done and stuff, and I can't say enough about him as a person. There's certain brands in this space that don't treat people the right way. And I can tell you right now that Fantasy Points, and especially Ben, they treat people the right way. And that means something to me more than anything. And they're one of the bigger brands in this space. And for them to do that, they deserve credit for who they are as people. Ben, especially, even though we probably hate every team that each other likes, he's from Philly. I'm a Dallas fan. He's Rutgers. I'm a Michigan guy. But Ben has just been someone that, as someone that I've met that I know has a ton of pull, and someone that higher up that I'm like, man, he's a real down to earth guy. I know he recently just had a kid. I love that for him. He's a teacher as well. So we definitely have that in common. But Ben is someone that I've definitely grown to really, truly respect in this space. Just because of the amount of work that he puts in, what he does behind the scene for fantasy points. And he's an incredible person. So I want to shout out Ben for what he's brought into the space and for being ethical and being a guy that is just, he has honor. He has a code of morality that I like. And I'm really glad that I get to work with him in the small role I work with him. I don't work with him like that, but in the small role that I have that I've been able to deal with Ben, he's been one of the top-notch people I've met in the last 2 years. So shout out to Ben, and definitely check out Fantasy Points. They deserve it because Ben's the type of guy that deserves it. So please go check that out. Subscribe to them. They have some of the best college football people I know, because that's really where I am, in that space. But they have great DFS guys, and we have that. So shout out to Ben. I appreciate you and what you're trying to build at Fantasy Points. Excellent job. My next guy is another Ben, and that's Ben Eby. And this is someone, Ben Eby is somebody that I've talked about before. I know that I mentioned him before on the pod, and everybody that's there. But, Ben is someone, I know he does work for the Elite Seekers and for Destination Debbie, but he's a good dad. He cares. I haven't talked to Ben in a while, so I definitely wanted to shout him out. I know we both get busy. He's a coach. He's a creator. He has an owner. He has a small business you definitely should check out. He does a lot of different things in this space that I like to do, and he's never too big for anybody. He appreciates people that are talented. He appreciates people that work. But you know what? He talks about Elite Seekers, and that's a really special time, a really special podcast that he has, that he talks about all these guys. And I'm glad that he's gotten the platform he's gotten, because he deserves more credit. He deserves way more than 3,400 followers, which he has right now on Twitter. Go follow him, because he's something special, and he's just a special person. Now, my last guy that I would definitely want to mention, and unfortunately, he's a Giants fan, so we're gonna get out of the way. But he calls himself at FantasyFootBub. He does everything: basketball, football, sports betting, gambling, fantasy. I know he's gonna retire from fantasy, whatever. He's still gonna play it. But if you like gambling, he's definitely a guy to follow. He does a lot of different bets. He's a smart gambling guy. He does that. He's definitely a top Twitter follow. He's one of those guys that I've followed for a long time. He was he was a bigger account when I first started. I had nothing. And he was one of those guys that supported me when I literally had nothing. And so that, for me, I will always appreciate from him. So I appreciate you, Bub, there. And he's DM'd me quite a few nice messages over the time. And I can't stress enough how nice that was of him. So I appreciate you there. So that was it. We just went through a ton of people. I know you probably didn't watch everything. There's a lot of guys there. There are a lot of guys also that I didn't mention, and girls and people out there, analysts that I respect. And that's just because I probably forgot. I'm getting old and there's that. But just know that if I've ever had an interaction with you, if I've ever, talked to you, I DM'd you, retweeted you, liked your stuff, I appreciate you. Like that goes without saying. Anybody that creates content in the space deserves recognition because of how you do it for probably free, and you do it to take away from your time with your family or your friends and all that. And I can't stress how important that is, that I respect the hell out of everybody in the space that creates content. Every single one of you that creates content, that does stuff, for what you do and the time you put in for the little pay that you probably get in recognition. You are incredible people. So I want to thank you for everything that you've done for our brand. If you follow us, if you see us, follow these people. You're going to find in the descriptions. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving break. I hope you guys have a great time. And if you see this video at any other time, follow these people, because they're all going to do great work for years to come. So I appreciate you all. I will see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.